The following is intended for mature audiences only. May contain strong language, crude humor, adult themes, and suggestive material.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, listen, Jake. I hate to be making this call, but we're a little short on staff, as you can imagine, so I could really use your help on the floor today. Now, I know it's a holiday, and believe me, no one's been looking forward to it more than me, but work's piling up over here, so the sooner you can come in, the better. Thanks. Drive safe.
Man. Hey, I'm Jake Bradbury.
And I'm Will Blank.
And we are 20th Century Fox, a film collective that produced 16 short films. And for each film, we made a behind-the-scenes podcast. Today on the podcast, a seal runs through the apartment, and director of photography Alejandro Wilkins discusses where you can find Bigfoot and bunnies in LA, and how to use an ironing board on top of a skateboard to get the best shots. With all that, visual effects were the hardest part of this short, and the guys discover it's better when the ideas are simplified.
All right, let's go.
The Purge.
20th Century Fox podcast.
That's right.
About the Purge. All right, so then how do we come up with this one?
Well, this one was a last-minute idea after 3001 didn't quite work out, and we were trying to finish that day.
Yeah, so just for context, the 3001 short was a short film about a guy who's in the future, and he's getting up and going to work, and it's all the same bullshit that you have to deal with when you get up and go to work.
Like a piece of eggshell falling into your fried eggs.
And then the too much trash in your trash
being
can.
out of laundry, like all sorts of stuff.
All of the stuff you
on
gotta
the
deal with
floor.
now. Like the future is here, but it's just terrible.
And it just never worked. We didn't shoot anything with actual future stuff, and it was really lazily done, and so we gave up on it. But that was our last video.
Wasn't there?
Was that?
What, didn't you have one feature element?
I was just putting sound effects on all the normal appliances.
I thought you had automatic like garbage
yeah, like
can lift.
the garbage can. I added like the sound of
That's
pneumatics to it
3001.
and stuff, and it was just like a stupid plastic cover that had the pneumatic
And then people
sound.
kept saying, what was it? They were like, oh, do you have uranium or something? Or like,
Oh yeah, we were
plutonium?
trying to do it all with words instead, and it
Yeah.
just was too distracting that the
This is
visuals
ridiculous.
never
It
matched
needed
up.
production design, and it needed like a lot of
Anything.
VFX.
So there's
Something.
got to be like one key element to a futuristic production design that like maybe a production designer would come on and be like, oh, all you need is this.
Yeah,
Right, like-
to make it feel like
A
the
production
future.
designer would have been able to do that. We just didn't think of it.
But we
So,
didn't do. Anyway, that was a digression because
Everybody's wearing those visor glasses.
Yeah, there you go.
Done.
tried.
Future.
Done, yeah, we
Where were
tried
you?
to do it on. We tried to make it work. It didn't work, and so for our last short, we needed to come up with an idea, but we wanted it to be simple. We didn't want to have about 18,000 different setups and yada yada yada. So, how did we come up with the Purge specifically?
Oh, I have no idea. I can't even remember.
Dude, I want to say that was my brainchild.
Okay.
I was all about the fucking...
All about the Purge.
I was all about doing a small amount of shots or something. I think you were talking about like one shot or just something quick. And then we mouthed off, and then the Purge idea came up.
It was around Halloween time, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
It might
no,
have
but I
been-
think that just the idea, I don't know where it came from.
it might
but
have
I
been spun out of 3001 because 3001 is like about getting up and going to your job.
Oh, he's talking to
And
his
then
boss.
this one, it was job related.
But I
This
remember
one.
specifically linking whatever you guys were talking about to the Purge as kind of like, oh, why don't we just like riff off of that?
Yeah.
And then came, well, what about a guy who can't go to the Purge?
Right.
Who wants to
it's
go?
a big
but can't.
holiday.
Yeah.
It's a big holiday for everybody, but he can't go because his boss just, he really needs him there at work. I think in my mind it was Best Buy
Yeah, it is.
That's where.
That is, yeah.
Like
the
where he
floor,
works?
out on the floor.
So
Yeah, and
perfect.
Scott helped write some of the dialogue, right? For the boss, and we used my real boss's name at work, and yeah, we wanted to do it as simply as possible. Something that we could do in a
Jesus,
oneer.
man.
What the fuck, man? He's playing with a
Alejandro's-
fidget
yeah,
spinner
he's
and
playing
he
with a
dropped
fidget spinner
it.
and he's dropping it all over the place, interrupting our podcast and
We'll put
picking it
this
back
here.
up again.
Well, what else are you gonna do with this fidget? Get this out of my sight.
You're making more noise.
It's okay. It's exciting for the people at home.
They never know what's gonna
No
happen
questions.
next.
Whoa.
That was a bunch of noises.
There's a seal in here.
Jesus.
We're
yeah.
actually on the beach, guys.
Okay. So we did it.
Yeah.
We were like, yo, this is funny. But we weren't sure how we were going to reveal it, right? It was like
Yeah.
we were questioning what was the best way to reveal that it was the Purge.
I thought it was gonna be at the end.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We have some sound effects. We have courtesy of our neighbors who has a car alarm in this day and age.
I don't know, but this is a new one. This is
Oh,
the same
good.
one from this morning, so
Awesome.
it's cool that it's
That
moved.
was going to be a short back in the day, remember? Because you had a neighbor that always had his alarm
Yeah,
going
well,
off.
you'll be happy to know that neighbor's car alarm
Does
doesn't
not
go off
anymore.
because
We
of
fixed the
because
problem.
of some vigilante justice on my part.
Anyway, we digress. But I think
Couple of wire clippers.
I
What
remember-
did you do?
I remember
Left a
playing.
note.
I remember playing the clown in this one, and then going again to the costume store and trying to find all of the pieces for it, and getting the gun
Yeah.
and the knife.
Where is this costume store that you keep going to?
Oh,
like,
there are a
coming back
couple of
with
them, man. I
every-
had to learn
Yeah, a
about
lot
them.
in
I had to
Glendale. That's
know
all
where
kind
they
of
are.
Glendale is
Yeah,
just
what
like
the-
Halloween shops
That's
and
right.
costume stores.
It's
Dude,
a party, it's a
LA
party
stores. Yeah.
LA, the Valley in general, not to segue, is like the best for last minute projects. I
Oh,
did
yeah.
a music video once, and it happened to be near Easter, and we needed a Bigfoot costume and a live baby bunny.
Wow.
And we got both of those near Porto's. We got both of those, the outfit, the Bigfoot outfit, and Easter bunnies that they were actually selling live bunnies. We returned it within, I don't know, a couple blocks of each other.
Wow.
You could get anything for anything here.
That's awesome.
Pretty much any day.
LA and New York. You get anything, anytime.
Oh, really? New York
Yeah.
is the same way?
I think so. Maybe not bunnies, but definitely like.
I just thought
Pretty
that was
much
so
anything you
random.
could want.
And then you keep coming up with all this, on the day, random props and things.
Yeah. Props are so important. They're just like, I had this like airsoft gun that I took the orange tip off of, and that's the gun that we use. I remember this sequence that I had to do where I had to pick up the knife, sheathe the knife, check the knife, and then put that down and then like cock the gun. There's this behind the scenes video of that, and I look so badass
You look like
doing it.
like the dude from Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You just look like a total stone cold psychopath.
Total stone cold psychopath. And that's the whole thing behind the Purge, right? Is that normal people turn into psychopaths on that one day.
Has any of us watched The Purge?
No.
And none of us have seen The Purge. That's
No,
the
none
best
of
part.
us. That's-
the
yeah, I
Purge
just know
is
the
just
concept.
one big high concept.
It is.
That is what
That's
that
it.
movie is.
And
I
it's
don't
been,
need
like,
to see it.
4 or
It's
5
just the high
movies
concept.
long now. Spun off.
Yeah,
a
it
bunch
makes
of
so
movies.
much money. I think they shot the first one for like, I don't know, $1 million or something, and it made $30 million
Yeah.
or $100 million or
Yep.
some ridiculous amount. So
More
it's
now.
become one of the most lucrative
Franchise.
horror franchises. But yeah, so we did it. Oh,
We
we
wanted
wanted
to
you
parody
to and we wanted it to be badass at the beginning. We wanted to like sell the world with that first shot where we reveal the title.
I think
that
The
was just
Purge-
stolen from Dawn
Yeah.
of the Dead or whatever.
Yeah, I think The Purge Black Friday is such a good name.
That was
Yeah.
such a
So-
good name. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Which plays into the Best Buy thing that's never mentioned. But yeah, we wanted it to be really goosed up. We wanted it to be really cool and badass, so that once the phone rings, there's this like it takes all the air out of it. It becomes
Deflated.
completely something else that you were not expecting, and is funny therein.
Yep.
This
It's
is
very
another
funny.
character one that I feel like you actually get to know him really well.
Yeah.
And then even further, when he answers the phone and is just bummed that he has to go to work, which is kind of like, I think a lot of, I used to work at Blockbuster when I was in high school, and if the Purge had been around back then, a lot of the employees probably would have watched the Purge, and so would have connected in that way. Like, what would I do on that day? Well, fuck, I probably have to end up working on that holiday and maybe gotten a bump at Blockbuster for that day, but I would have rather been running around killing people or something like that.
I think you work in sales and customer service or whatever, and you just do end up hating people and wanting to kill them all. So it's like
Relatable
very
on
realistic.
many levels.
But also,
he's excited about something like this.
To the point of character, though, because we off podcast, we're talking about what makes characters interesting and which one of the shorts which shorts are successful and which are not. And I think with this one, character-wise, and all of them, it's because you can see some shade of yourself in it that it works, right? Because even if the plant guy in Constant Gardener is absolutely batshit insane, you recognize the over-the-top love that we might have all experienced for a pet or a toy or something.
True.
And or in The Wizard, the total sociopathy that we all adopt when we're dealing with NPCs in video games. We just beat the shit out of them. We steal from them. We do all the things we would never do to a real person.
So is finding a common ground
highly relatable trait.
a highly relatable trait? Is it just
And for the Purge, it's having to go to work on a holiday.
Having to go to work when you don't want to work.
On a holiday.
Is that
called into work.
A quick way to character building?
I think it is. I think that's the most important thing, and that's the key element, is that there's something deeply, deeply relatable that you see yourself in the character, and because you see yourself in them, you become them by proxy. I think this is the key, and what we should take going forward and use every single time is just finding some kind of human thing about the character that's very universally relatable, but also ultra specific. Like, I think, for instance, with episode 1 and Tracy hitting on you, Jake, in that one, what's so deeply relatable is that we've all fantasized about going up to someone we're attracted to and, you know, making a move. And some of us have done it, but all of us have felt the anxiety about making that move. So it makes her relatable. And, you know, I guess not for Alejandra.
Which one?
When she hits on Jake.
Oh, but I think that's a gender thing for me, is that it's harder for me to relate because usually I'd be hitting on somebody, not somebody hitting on me.
Well, but I think that then you would still identify
I identify with Jake in that situation, and I'm like, oh, this is a weird situation where I watch that and I don't necessarily identify with what she's doing. Okay. Even though I guess I hear what you're saying, but I should. But
I'll just this different example that you won't argue against. So when Tracy is in Girl Interrupted, and she basically the first thing you see is her swiping on Tinder in her totally dressed down clothes, you know, and we're like, okay, we see her. But not only do we see her, we get it.
There are multiple ways of connecting with that character.
Yeah.
So maybe there's, like, over time, you get more shots at it.
Yeah.
In a smaller amount of time, you get, like, 1 or 2 shots, so you have to make it more general of a connection. Is maybe the principle there. Because with the Come On Over, which one was that one?
Yeah, that's
Girl Interrupted. There were several different parts where I'm like, oh, yeah, I know about falling asleep and then waking up and seeing a text and be like, oh, and then realizing the text was sent a long time ago or something like that, and getting excited and like, I know those kind of things. So there's multiple spots where I could be connected, but there's other parts that I may have lost me character-wise, but you get a chance to bring in more audience over time.
And I don't know what... Sorry, do you want to say?
No, that's okay. I was just trying to
Through
get back
character.
to the Purge.
Oh, I don't know what is going to...
we're talking about the Purge.
I don't know what's going to be more interesting with the character you described of, like, the king or whatever, right? You see the king just eating dinner or, you know, eating a really not fancy meal or brushing his teeth or something. After or before you see him talking to millions of people from his rooftop or from his
That's why I
porch.
like the King's
Veranda.
Speech.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so from his veranda. So I don't know if it's more effective and you connect more to the character if you see that after or before. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying.
That'd be an editing thing where I'm like, well, I don't know what's better, actually. Maybe it's better to see him sit on the veranda and talk to millions of people, or, you know, and then cut to him brushing his teeth. Because you're like, oh yeah, he does that big thing.
He does that thing.
But with that context, now we see him doing something that we all do. He's just like us. He has to fucking brush his teeth, or his teeth will fall out.
Yeah, it's interesting. So back to the Purge. One of the best parts of this is the visual effects. So I want you to talk about that, because out that window there was literally nothing there, right? And what did you add, and how long did it take? And what was it?
Well, that was the
just
thing.
the trees. I mean,
That's why
the natural environment was there, but
that's why we shot in that up angle or down angle, shooting up, because we didn't want to we couldn't actually deliver on there being real mayhem in the streets or bullets flying, because my visual effects skills are not there yet. And so
you did all that yourself?
Yeah, I just did everything.
Moses.
So there's a couple visual effects things. One is that fire, which was just stock footage that you found, Jake, and then I just overlaid it into the thing and masked out the window and stuff, and
Helicopter.
and then the helicopter was just an image that just got bigger as it, you know, went forward, and that sells the scope and the scale. It is easy for us to actually do it, and then the bullet holes in the window, which also sell the reality, connect the outside to the inside,
and the explosions in the eyes, the
and
reflection.
then the reflection and the scene
that was real.
The you know, the
that
gun
was real, guys.
shots in the eye,
Practical.
with the what's it called, with the huge explosion reflected in Jake's eye. The one thing I've always wondered about that physics wise is if it's right the way I did it, because I feel like,
I get what you're saying.
you know what I mean, like I feel like actually it moves with your head, but it shouldn't move with your head,
right?
But I don't know how else.
It's okay.
It's
And
funny
maybe
because
it would
it's
have
so
been both
rare
eyes.
that people would actually see that in the real world too.
Yeah.
So
they don't have a point of comparison, basically. Yeah. So
how many times do you see reflections in people's eyes in general, and whether or not they're moving with?
Now,
I mean, I don't get that close to people's faces.
Alejandro,
Yeah.
that push in that you do in the beginning, or during the whole thing, basically, how did you do that?
I think it was skateboard.
Yeah. What was it?
No, we removed everything
We did
away
an
from my
ironing
window.
board.
Was it
Ironing
ironing
board
board?
An
with
ironing
skateboard.
board.
And a skateboard.
And some bullshit on top of the skateboard.
And then we had marks to hit, and I was pulling focus. Actually, it's amazing
Yeah.
how it looks the way it did, because I was hobo pulling focus from marks that were really
Hobo
primitively put onto the lens.
Did you have to stabilize any of it?
And then I stabilized everything.
You did? Okay, great. Because I remember it being like
So
all over.
wobbly,
I was like,
unusable.
if you didn't stabilize that,
amazing.
that's a hell of a job. We did with on a mattress.
ironing board and a skateboard. It's so
But see,
funny to
that's
me.
also like these new tools that have come up that can make things feel really of a higher production value. Like stabilization is so killer these days. Like
And
you can now
gimbals are so tiny. You can fit them in the palm of your hand now and just do like an amazing gimbal shot.
Oh, well, that or just post stabilization. What I'm saying is like you could just shoot it out on a wonky setup and go into post and just stabilize it. And you could get a pretty nice dolly shot out of it. I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect or whatever, but that's what we did here. And the idea about the Purge too was we shot in a widescreen aspect
to make it feel like a film.
Yeah,
or
to
a
give it
Hollywood
more
film.
of like a action, suspense, thriller piece.
And what I like about this too is that it's the only one that's like directly parodying
something else. That's true.
And there's something nice about that. I don't know. None of the other ones do that. And then this one is like
It's a
direct
choice.
parody.
Yeah, it was
it's a
like we
choice.
just thought this was a good enough idea.
That's why it should be maybe the last one in the series. We haven't really thought about that, but
We put also with that dolly move there was another layer to it where we were pushing in as we're being drawn into your world, and then once you get the phone call that ruins everything, we actually pull away from you, reflecting your own we're deflating the actual excitement.
And then, of course, I love the stupidest part of it, which is the reveal of the nose.
Oh yeah,
and a little
There's a nose. That was such a nice reveal.
So for the Purge, the editing was pretty straightforward. I imagine.
Yeah. There was just the visual effects was a huge pain in the ass. But then because
really?
we couldn't.
It was. How long did that take?
It was tough. I mean, it was tough with my job, and I feel like I had to learn some new skills because I had to wrap on Jake's eyeball. I had to learn how to wrap the image across his eyeball, but also track it to his eyeball at the same time. So the edit but the edit itself wasn't bad. Just make the beginning look cool, and then hold on for the back half. Sorry. What's up?
Are those skills that you that are concrete, like, or are they like one-time use and then you're gonna forget them?
They're concrete because I had to do stuff like that all the time on my job, and a lot of because I'm by day an assistant editor, and so I have to do a lot of temp visual effects, and so I would learn, and it all comes down to tracking, which is just figuring out how to track the movement of whatever thing you need. In this case, it would be Jake's eyeball. Track the movement of his eyeball and his face, and then put the image on top of that tracking data. So that's applicable over and over and over again for so many different things, screen replacements, blah, blah, blah. But then sound, because we didn't really have much visual stuff going on, we wanted something visually, but it had to rely heavily on the sound design and the soundscape. And so I had to write a little story in my head as to what was going on outside, because it starts off with, just hearing gunfire and stuff, and then somebody shoots at a car, the car crashes into a mailbox, and then gets out and starts firing, and then the other person shoots a rocket launcher at that person, which then explodes everything, and then you just hear general mayhem. And then there's a lone gunman that's just walking down the street, just like firing at everybody. And then that's who fires at the dude in the window at the end.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. So I was like, I need to know what the story is outside so that I can.
So much more intricate than I thought.
Yeah, it just sounds like random shit, which maybe means I didn't do my job that well. But
no, it doesn't sound like random shit.
Yeah, it seems like there's something
I'm just saying that
happening.
I don't break it down in my head. I'm just watching it, but it does sound like something's going on outside.
Yeah,
it's cool to know that you had a whole idea behind it. Like behind it.
Because otherwise it just made it easier to keep adding things. So if I knew what the story was, it was like the spine that I could build everything off of. And then that was just searching for the right sounds, more or less, messing with the EQs to make them sound outside as opposed to inside. And also finding the right sounding machine guns, because there's a lot of gun sounds, but there was ones that spoke to me that felt really crisp, and I liked the way that they sounded. And I tried to give different guns, have people have different bullets for different guns.
And the music I got from Soundstripe, which is this great membership, annual membership thing, like a sound library and a music library that I could just go through and find the perfect soundscape for it, or the perfect.
It was perfect.
Music for it.
Music was cool. I put sound effects in at the top for all this stuff, but also the music itself is almost made from ironworks,
right?
And so those sounds worked.
Helped with the hammer.
Yeah, the hammer and the metal that we were doing.
The one little, I think, misstep, it's not even a misstep, is that we went and did a color session, and the colorist didn't quite get what we were going for, and so we blew out all the saturation and everything on the piece. And so we actually, after thinking about it and showing each other some images of the Bourne Ultimatum and Bourne Identity, the kind of blue cast.
The Transformers look.
Yeah, I'd love to take a crack at the color.
Yeah.
Oh, you still don't like the color?
So we changed
this is
it.
the final?
Yeah, so we changed it.
We changed it. It's
to
not
a different
the old version. It's new. It's
to a
got the
different
blue
version.
cast to
I'm
it.
just saying I'd love to take a crack at the color. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, you can, I guess.
You're
Fit that
welcome
into
to.
my busy December schedule.
You're welcome
Yeah.
to.
Okay. Well, I can give you that
But
footage.
now that we made that decision, hopefully that
I hear what you're saying, though. I
it's a
think
bit
the idea is where it wants to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's there.
Yeah.
I would just love to take a crack at it. And it's just
totally,
Copy
totally,
that.
bro.
Any other aspects to this thing? Well, Scott was there too. Should give a shout out to Scott.
Yeah, he did
helped
the
write
writing.
some
He
of
wrote
the
thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
He wrote some of the monologue for the boss. I got to give a shout out to Josh, who is my coworker, he's a really talented editor, and he has been watching these things as we make them and giving feedback, and always really astute feedback. And when we needed somebody to do this voice, I thought of him, and so
It's awesome.
Josh was excited and willing to do it. He was so eager to do multiple takes. And he's like, dude, am I giving you what you need? Do you need to do it again? We'd already done it 4 or 5 times. I'm like, no, man, it's good. It's good.
That's
I'm just
cool.
going to throw the phone EQ on there so it sounds like a telephone, and then we'll be good.
You guys have so many friends that are enthusiastic about these projects.
Oh man, it's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just like to make stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm really excited about too. Is once we finally release this stuff, and then we're actually gonna make videos asking for help from people, from our viewers, and be like, hey, this, we're looking for people to help us with these projects. If you want to help, just let us know.
Is it going to be on Vimeo or YouTube?
Both, I
both.
think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the part that makes this unsustainable is having to do everything.
Right.
And partly we're doing everything because we want to have control, But if there were people who, and I can hire people to do the job, but I can only push them so far based off of how much I'd be willing to pay for something that essentially we're not going to make any money off of.
Well, and also, the collaboration, starting small, makes a lot of sense. We can see how you work with a small crew with 3 people or whatever. As it grows, I think there was one, I don't remember which one, but when you work with more people, it sometimes slows things down.
Oh, by a lot.
Yeah. And then it's too many cooks sort of thing.
Coming up with
cooks is
ideas
right.
with multiple people is stressful, I feel like.
Mhm.
It's better when it's a small, 2-3 people.
Brain
Once
trust.
it gets bigger, it gets... For me, it's I don't want to make people feel like I don't like their ideas or, discourage people from contributing or anything. But at the same time, it's I don't want to make something I don't want to make. Okay, what more do we got to say?
I think that's it. I think the Purge was a fun one to do. It was a last minute, exchange for 3001, but I think we did a good job, and I like it. People like it, and it's funny.
Yeah, it's a minute long.
Yeah,
Does a lot in a minute.
Yeah, it's fun.
In a minute.
I just like the idea, and it's not over the top in any way. Is not that that's a bad thing, where nudity comes into play or anything. It's just pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just fun.
That's something we didn't ever do. Was a lot of nudity. We didn't do any nudity except for Will's butt.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm kind of sad about that. I think we should do more.
More
Do you want to
nudity?
show your dick?
No, I mean I don't. Not my dick. I mean just
Oh, okay.
we just never did a lot more nudity. Than
There's
that, I
no-
thought.
there's
There
no
was
sex
room for
scene.
us.
You want boobs?
Yeah, there's no sexiness. We didn't really do
You're
any
right.
sexiness.
We're not really sexy.
No sex
Yeah.
scenes.
We didn't do any sex scenes, but we didn't do any really sexiness.
Yeah.
Flirting.
We did flirting.
Yeah, some flirting.
Sexiness. Most of these fall in line with funny.
Right. That's true.
Is funny sexy?
It can be.
On
Anyway.
our next
All right, we're
episode.
done.
Thank you so much for tuning
Yeah,
in.
thank you guys for listening.
And stay tuned for our next short and our next podcast. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Later.